This week, this episode is all about the scars within our nervous system that we carry without even realizing, and exactly what happened to me this week because of those scars. For those of you that don't know me, I'm SMr&x. I am the host of Whatever Happened to the Gentleman podcast, the podcast for single men and women who have been going through the same relationship cycles and are tired of it. Now let's get to the episode. So, I went to a festival on Sunday, and I haven't been to a festival for many, many years, actually. The last time I went to a festival was V Festival, which was actually the last ever V Festival, which was awesome, by the way. But anyway, I went to a festival, and what happened before I went to the festival kind of shocked me a little bit. So I put on an outfit, a festival-y outfit. I'd been on Pinterest looking for what mums wear to festivals nowadays. And I'd got my outfit, just shorts and a lovely see-through top. And it sent me and my nervous system into overdrive. It sent me into a bit of a panic, like actual fear. Now, I was convinced that I needed to go and change. Like, I was looking at myself in the mirror and I'm coming up with all these reasons why I shouldn't wear what I'm wearing. You're too old, you're too big, you're not allowed. And I realized that this was just my nervous system. This was my subconscious as well, kind of playing tricks on me. And it's so bizarre because it's been maybe 13 years since the last time someone told me what I was allowed to wear. But when you've been through that, and anyone that's listening to this that has been in a relationship where someone will come up with reasons of why you can't wear certain things, so who are you wearing that for? That's the most common one, because you're not wearing it for me because you're going out. That's too short. People don't dress that way. Women don't dress that way. You look like a slut. Whatever it is, and anyone that has experienced that will understand exactly what I'm saying right now. And I heard that. And, there was an occasion where there was a hole made in the wardrobe door because of a dress that I was wearing to go to work in. And that sits in your body, that fear, because it is a fear. There doesn't have to be physical violence for you to be scared of someone. Someone can use their words enough to make you scared. And what happens when we're scared, and anyone that's been in like any sort of life-threatening situation, you will know that your body takes over. Your body goes into fight, flight, or freeze. That sits in your body, and that is exactly what happened to me. I looked at my outfit and I was just like, this is not something that I would have been allowed to wear. And so I had to give myself a talking to, basically. Because I have done the work, I've healed my nervous system. I started to sense that danger, and I can, sense when it's coming. And when I say about danger in this sense, it's your mindset danger. It's not physical danger. You're not getting into trouble with anyone else. It is actually just your mind and your subconscious and your nervous system hammering you. And it would have been easier for me to change, for me to go put some jeans on, to put a nice t-shirt on. But that part, doing that, is dangerous for me. because that means that I am still allowing somebody else to control who I am. And so what I did was I stood up, I did a little dance in the mirror, and I said a little sentence to myself. The reason that I did a dance is I've been getting a lot of my clients to do this recently, where I get them to say certain things about themselves whilst they're doing movement. And the reason is because there's been a lot of research. I don't want to bore you with, textbooks, but there's a lot of research into how moving whilst doing self-talk, which is, talking to yourself, making yourself feel better, changes your patterns, changes your beliefs a lot easier than if you are not moving. So this could be whatever you want it to be. Like for me, I just did a little dance and a little movement, and fantastic. But this could be you squatting and saying it. This could be you going for a swim and obviously saying it in your head. Whatever it is, actually that movement part makes it happen quicker than if you were just doing the talking to yourself part. And so what I said to myself is, you are beautiful, you are in control, you don't live that life anymore. You get to be who you want to be, and that's just the way it is. If you want to write that sentence down, there's a couple of sentences down for you to be able to repeat. Whenever something comes up for you that you're like, well, I shouldn't be doing this, and it's based on a belief that somebody else created within you. You are beautiful, you are in control, you don't live that life anymore. You get to be who you want to be, and that's just the way it is. Repeat it, move around, say it as many times as you can, because eventually it will start infiltrating those beliefs that you already have and start to change them. And it's so funny because this whole thing, it did affect me, because afterwards I went to my local petrol station where I go quite regularly to fill up. And the guy behind the counter, because I was buying bottles of water, and the guy behind the counter said, well, it is quite hot today. And he was making reference to my outfit. The funny part is that I found myself explaining, which is something that I used to do all the time and now don't tend to do it. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to a festival today. That's why I'm dressed like this. Did he need that explanation? Absolutely not. Did he deserve that explanation? Absolutely not. And the funniest part of that is, and I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about this, about my longest running client is my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter, who doesn't take crap from anyone. Like, literally, she's spoken to boys before and then realised, oh, they're talking to another girl, and she's like, no, you're done, bye. She's very much an evolved version of me, of what I should have been like, a very healed version that she's wonderful. Anyway, I got in the car and I said to her what had happened in the petrol station, and she was like, why did you give him an explanation? And it was only then when I was like, why did I give him an explanation? But this is what happens. When you have been put down by other people it doesn't even need to be that long of a period of time, because you hear it enough times. You hear it once, and it takes a strong person to be like, they don't matter. You hear it again and again and again. It becomes part of who you are. It's ridiculous, but that is is the truth. If you are told over and over again you are stupid, you start to believe you are stupid. You start to give talks, like you talk about yourself like, oh, I don't really know that much. And I've seen people do it in meetings, and certainly my clients, I call my clients out on it a lot, where I will say, can we just talk about the language that you used about yourself? Because it wasn't good. And there's enough people out there that will be putting you down. There's enough people out there to talk negatively about you without you doing it to yourself. And so my daughter called me out on it. And then it kind of put me into this dilemma of, I actually then wanted to go back in and be like, I don't know why I give you an explanation. Obviously, I didn't do that because that's just over the top. But this just shows you how prominent this work is. As I said, it's been years and years and years since anyone commented on anything I wear, on my appearance, because I don't allow people into my life that comment on the way that I look. People that do it on the internet, I've had it on YouTube, I've had it on Instagram, I delete them, I block them. Because I don't allow that into my life. But still, despite all of the things that I've done and the daily practices that I do every single day of telling myself how wonderful I am, that outfit sent my nervous system into overdrive. So if you're listening to this and thinking that you're just going to get over it without doing anything to help that, without building the skills to learn how to get over it, I hate to be that person, but it's not going to happen. If you have been through trauma, if you've been through a toxic relationship, abuse, if you've been rejected, and you haven't learned how to get over those things, and you haven't learned how to talk nicely to yourself, how to tell yourself that they're the problem, you're not the problem, then you aren't ready to be dating, you aren't ready for a relationship, because that is what you need to be working on, because other humans are unpredictable. And you need to learn how to deal with those things. And for those that are wondering, because I put this out into my newsletter, and if you do not get my newsletter, then send me an email, I'll add you on. I put this in my newsletter that I would let you all know what Alan's response to my outfit was. And he's probably going to kill me when he listens to this, because he listens to every episode. He looked at me and he said, nice boobs, and then walked away. So the contrast between healing your nervous system and finding a relationship and a love that is actually aligned with who you are and what you want out of life, compared to all my previous relationships, is huge. That's what happens. You start to attract the right people into your life when you start saying, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, that's your problem, not mine. So that is all for this week. Make sure that you are subscribing to the podcast so that you get updates every single time I update this. I will speak to you next week. I am SMr&x, and this is Whatever Happened to the Gentleman. Dating is tough. Finding love doesn't have to be. But you can't attract the right person to you until you know who you are. Thank you for listening.